Tonight, a stunning look inside conservative Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia's government carried out the beheadings of 37 people today. One of the bodies and the severed head were put on public display as a warning.
That was targeting a shopping mall. Again, it was a suicide bomb.
A Saudi woman about to be beheaded screams out her innocence.
Here we are, finally, somewhere we have always wanted to go, Saudi Arabia, and we're here in Jeddah next to this huge fountain that looks really small on camera, but in real life it's over 1,000 feet into the air. But if you've seen our videos before, you know how we travel. We're off the beaten path. We don't do tours, we don't have guides, we don't do any of that. We do our own thing. And on this trip, we're doing something that we've never done before, which is rent a car. So for the next 2 weeks, we're gonna be road tripping through Saudi Arabia.
And the number one question we get is, why in the world would you want to travel to Saudi Arabia? And the question has a very easy answer for us, and that's because we're so excited to go into this new frontier of Western travel on completely uncharted territory. And more importantly, we're so curious to see and explore a world that is seemingly so vastly different from the world that we grew up with. And so we cannot wait to experience the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
And a lot of people have questions about what you can or cannot do in Saudi Arabia, and right now we don't have the answers to those questions. But by the end of this road trip and by the end of this video, hopefully we'll have all of that figured out.
Or as the locals say, Inshallah.
We're in an old section of Jeddah called Al Balad, which literally translates to the town. And it's the only part of Jeddah that still has these old buildings from what it used to look like back in the day. Back in the 70s and 80s, when Saudi started to get a lot of money, they tore everything down and started building from scratch. So it's a really cool part to see what Saudi really used to look like. Luckily, in 1991, Jeddah formed a preservation society which helped keep this place alive, which is awesome because this is a really cool piece of history. You can just feel it as you walk around. Within the next 2 or 3 years, with the influx of tourists, this place will be lined with cafes and little restaurants and stuff, and I think there's a lot of potential here. And I'm really happy Jeddah still has this little piece of history to hold on to.
Ironically, even though this is an ancient little village that's been preserved, it really feels like I'm in the middle of Europe somewhere.
We're outside of Al Baik right now, which is supposedly a really popular fast food restaurant around here. They're known for their spicy fried chicken is what I was told. But we came all the way here and all the windows are pulled shut and it looks like the place is just completely closed. But it's just something that happens 5 or 6 times a day, I believe, for about 30 minutes apiece. And it's closed for prayer, for people to pray. So it takes some time to get used to coming here to Saudi because places seem like they're just always closed. But it's cool, it's part of the culture here. So now we're just playing the waiting game to go and get some fried chicken. I met 2 brothers here and they said they hope my channel gets a lot bigger, so I hope so too.
Hello.
We wish you the best.
Oh my god.
Hi, we love you, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe.
So we got our spicy food, and I had to use the women's entrance because I'm not allowed in the men's entrance, but I took care of things. Nothing like eating fried chicken on the Red Sea in Jeddah.
The chicken actually is so much better than I thought it would be. I thought it would just be like normal fried chicken, but the outside of it, the crispiness is so good, and when you bite into it, this like spiciness shoots out of it.
That's it for Jeddah. Now let's get this road trip going.
So it begins. So we're just getting out of Jeddah right now. It's about 7 a.m. We purposely woke up early because the driving around here is kind of crazy. People like just don't look and they're turning like crazy, so I'm not trying to get into an accident. But we're headed to the Marble Village, which is about 4.5 hours away towards the mountains.
After 4.5 hours of driving away from Jeddah, we've made it to the Marble Village of Dian. And it gets its name because it sits on top of a white marble hill. And Dian is the name of the river that springs through this village. And this village is 400 years old, and it's been here since before the unification of Saudi Arabia, where the villagers saw many a tribal war happen here.
It's kind of like a ghost town here. There's literally no one besides us. The only thing is the prayer going on in the background, which is cool. There's a big maze in here. I feel like it'd be so easy to get lost. In a few months, when more tourists start to come here, they'll have people working here and stuff, because right now it really seems like a ghost town, which gives it a very spooky feeling. I almost kind of feel like I'm not sure if we should be here or not right now. So this village was abandoned sometime in the mid-80s, and it wasn't until recently that they started to build it up, which is good because it's in great shape now, and you can walk all the way to the top, and it's about, if I had to guess, like almost 10 stories high. It just goes on and on and on.
I really wish we could go back in time and see what this was like 400 years ago. When we were researching this place, one of the bloggers said that it looks like it's straight out of Lord of the Rings, and they're not kidding. I really feel like a little hobbit's gonna come pop out and say hello.
We tried leaving a little while ago, but every time we go down one more flight of steps, there's always something new we see. There's like so many cool like nooks and crannies in this place. I wish we had more time. Right now we're leaving Marble Village and we're headed in the direction of Abba. But we heard about this road called 25 Tunnels, and it's supposedly one of the most dangerous roads out there. So naturally, that's the route we're going. So now I'm seeing this road for the first time, and it's absolutely amazing. I don't know if you can see it behind me, the bridge up there, but this road just winds through these tunnels and these awesome bridges all the way up the mountain.
To look at the scenery and take in the amazing highway, and instead we got a whole family of monkeys eating. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
One of the coolest things I've seen, like up close and personal. I think I just filmed some Nat Geo thing right there. So we heard that this was one of the most dangerous roads in the world, but I don't really think it's that dangerous. It's definitely one of the most beautiful roads in the world. I think maybe the only dangerous thing is people trying to overtake cars around blind turns. Like that's like the only scary / dangerous part I've seen. We decided to get out and stretch our arms and legs in this small town of Lakota, I believe it's called. We keep seeing these abandoned buildings here. I want to go inside. Just going in abandoned buildings in Saudi Arabia. No big deal.
Feels like heaven. I cannot believe we're in Saudi Arabia doing a road trip. Love mind.
My favorite part about starting this car is this always comes on. Every time.
الله أكبر الله أكبر سبحان الذي سخر لنا هذا.
I don't know what it is, but I like it. We have finally arrived in Aba after 13 hours. Of that 13 hours, it was about 9 hours of driving, and it flew by with the beautiful scenery.
So contrary to popular belief, Saudi Arabia does get cold, as you can see with my jacket, and I have long johns underneath. So it does get cold. Another mystical thing about Saudi Arabia.
Real quick, there's just a few things we want to tell you about Saudi Arabia.
The first thing being why I chose to wear an abaya, which is the women's cloak that's traditionally worn, even though it's no longer legally enforced. And that's because I wanted to show my respect as a foreigner to the culture. And if you choose not to wear an abaya, it's still a good idea to dress modestly. And also, I never once felt unsafe as a woman or preyed upon, and I wouldn't blink an eye to go back again by myself.
And also, before going, we read a bunch of stuff saying that if you're not a married couple, you can't stay in the same hotel room. So we thought we were going to have a huge issue with that. And we even wore fake wedding rings because of that. But not once during our 2 weeks did we have a single problem with staying in the same hotel room.
And ironically enough, the other hiccup we had with friends and family was they were asking why we would want to go to a country whose government we don't really understand or believe in. And the reason is because we went to Saudi Arabia for the people, because we wanted to separate the government and the people and learn from the people. And that was the exact same treatment that we received from the people of Saudi Arabia.
So now back to the road trip.
So excited for our first authentic Saudi breakfast.
This bread is so good. They said it's locally made.
And it's called khubus.
We just drove up to Jabal Sauda, which is supposedly the highest point in Saudi Arabia. And it's about a 30-minute drive from downtown Aba. We're trying to get a nice viewpoint. You can tell from this beautiful view how high up we really are. The air is nice and crisp up here. And it's cool to see the highways winding down the mountains here. And once we leave from here, we'll be driving through that, which I'm psyched about. I never thought the Middle East would have this much greenery and mountains and all that, and especially Saudi Arabia. I feel like when you think of Middle East, or if you think of Saudi Arabia, you think of sand dunes and just camels. And it's crazy to think that there's so much more than just that. We're working our way up to Jabal Haifa. I think that's how you say it. This is as fast as I can go. The hill is so steep, with thousands of more baboons, which is awesome.
We made it as high up as our little car will take us, but one of the fun curiosities this place has is these baskets, which the locals put their goods in, and not only that, they put people in to take them all the way up to the top, even though it's obviously very dangerous. But you gotta admire their tenacity.
Paulie said she's gonna ride the basket over there. So as we were out there filming, a really nice guy who spoke really good English, surprisingly, told us he has a really good spot for us to take some pictures. He asked if our car is good, because my car is literally not making it up this hill right now. Little piece of advice: if you're gonna come here, get some kind of SUV, because this is scary in this Corolla. Just when I thought we couldn't go any higher, our good friend showed us a way up to the top. Now it feels like we're truly at the top, and it's beautiful up here. So thank you for showing us.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Would you like to say anything to tourists to come to see Saudi?
Come, you are welcome.
Nice.
You will be enjoy here. Welcome.
So when he flips that dough, he's pizza boy.
having the most unique tea experience ever because of our new friend Assad, who very generously made us some tea with an incredible view.
Welcome.
Tea with the view and with the prayer coming over through the mountains. It's truly an amazing experience. So Assad has offered us a place to stay, which is amazing because we don't have service and we can't find a hotel that's anywhere near here. So we're going to take him up on the offer, which is so kind. And we're going to have a truly Loke experience tonight.
Nothing like homemade cooking. We have rice, we have lamb, and we have lamb broth to put on top. It's so delicious.
I'm so happy to know you. I wish to see you again here.
I hope to see you again, and I hope you come to America.
That's my wishes, inshallah, that in the future I will come to America. Before I want to stop my phobia of plane, then I will come for you.
Yeah.
Just a camel. This probably doesn't look bad on camera at all, but it's like going up one of San Francisco's like craziest hills, and it's turning, and there's monkeys everywhere. And the car is just going as fast as it can. Look at this, holy shit. Stop number 26, since we left about an hour ago. Look at these amazing views. There was a bunch of monkeys here before, but as we pulled in, they got scared and ran away. And now they're up there looking at us, hoping that we have food. Look at this.
If your friends and family are worried of you coming to Saudi Arabia, just take a picture of yourself here and say you're in the Sierra Madres in California. You'll be fine.
More abandoned buildings here in Saudi. Every time I see one, I stop. It's a problem. As we stop for the millionth time, I noticed there's a flipped car halfway down the mountain. I'm sure it's probably everywhere through these mountains because it's insane. Since the first day, we've been seeing camels all on the side of the road, but we've yet to pull over. It's our first time pulling over to look at them.
What's up, my dromedary dude?
It's like a goddamn zoo over here in Saudi with all these monkeys and camels and goats. Something happened. But so right now we're driving parallel to the Yemen border. If I drove like 10 miles through the dirt this way, we'd be in Yemen. And we just got stopped at our first police checkpoint. We'd driven through about like 15 or 20, but this one actually closed the gate. He looked at our passports, he looked at our trunk. He didn't speak any English, but he was friendly, he was smiling. He opened up the gate, let us go, and now we have less than an hour and a half to Najran. So close to Yemen though, it's so crazy. So just like that, we drove about 4 or 5 hours. We're now currently in the middle of nowhere with no service. So we're gonna sleep in the car. We got our dinner.
Have a baby shark ice pop.
Got some cards.
Travel companions always.
We're behind like a truck stop thing off the highway. So hopefully we have a good night's sleep. But we'll see you in the morning. Just woke up, it's about 7 a.m. Was not a great sleep. Now I'm gonna hit the road towards Riyadh and hopefully not sleep in a car again because it was not fun. And Paulie's still sleeping. Paulie's finally awake.
Yeah, good morning.
We're in this deserted ghost town. When you think of Saudi Arabia, this is what you picture, and we're driving through it.
This is the quintessential Saudi Arabia of the 1001 Nights.
I wish I had a Jeep or something to drive through the sand, but this little Corolla could barely make it up a hill. It's definitely not going through any sand. Okay, so that's the end of the first part of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope we did a good job at filming just how beautiful Saudi Arabia really is. I think we did the best we could with a point and shoot and without a drone and all that.
And something we just don't hear enough about is the spirit of generosity in Saudi Arabia. We received countless invites and gifts because people just wanted us to feel welcome, and they were so warm and affectionate with us, so that's something I'll never forget. I wish that was in the news more.
So once again, thanks for watching, and go and check out the second part.